From viral fame
Wish. You could get jewelry, shoes, and clothes online for cheap prices in an easy way.
to total failure.
But be careful what you wish for.
How Wish.com went from a $10 billion valuation to being sold for just $173 million. Remember the insane Wish ads? A $1 cat mask, a 99-cent smartwatch, LED shoes, mystery boxes, and who knows what gadget shipped straight from some random warehouse overseas. It was the app everyone downloaded. Not because they needed anything, but because it was hilarious. But while we were laughing at the ads, a slow-motion disaster was unfolding behind the scenes. Shady storefronts, fake listings, zero customer service, and a company that once turned down Amazon, only to be sold for pennies a few years later. Let's talk about how Wish became the biggest joke in e-commerce, and what killed it. Wish was founded in 2010 by Peter Silchevsky, a former Google engineer. He wasn't trying to build the next Amazon. In fact, he wanted to build the opposite. While Amazon focused on search, people typing in what they want, Wish focused on discovery. You didn't know what you were looking for. You just opened the app and got hit with a waterfall of ultra-cheap randomness. Fake AirPods, off-brand sneakers, kitchen gadgets you didn't need, shirts with gibberish English, and products that looked cursed. And it worked. Wish grew fast. By the late 2010s, it had over 500 million app downloads. For a while, it was the most downloaded shopping app in the world. Its appeal was simple. It was chaos shopping. It was TikTok before TikTok, pure entertainment. And its target wasn't the high-end consumer. It went after budget shoppers, especially in the US, Europe, and South America. If you had $5 and a sense of humor, Wish had something for you. What set Wish apart was how it turned its randomness into engagement. It wasn't just an app, it was a dopamine factory. The more you scrolled, the weirder the suggestions got. And if you hesitated, it hit you with a countdown timer. Buy in the next 30 minutes and save 80%. It was impulse shopping weaponized. And behind that interface, total chaos. At its peak, Wish was onboarding hundreds of thousands of Chinese sellers, most with no vetting, no support, and no obligation to fulfill anything correctly. It was like opening the world's cheapest flea market and then removing all the rules. Some merchants listed 10 versions of the same item under different names, just to game the algorithm. Others tested scam thresholds, how bad the product could be before the buyer complained. And many used fake reviews, misleading photos, or confusing product titles to avoid detection. It worked for a while, but that chaos didn't scale. What really fueled Wish's rise was its marketing. The ads were legendary, weird, unhinged, scroll-stopping, sex toys next to toothpaste, a motorcycle helmet next to a butt plug. You'd see something and think, there's no way that's real. That was the hook. Wish became one of Facebook's biggest ad buyers. They poured hundreds of millions into aggressive performance marketing. It didn't matter if the user stayed. They just needed the install, the first order, that click. It was growth at all costs. Wish didn't hold inventory. It didn't ship anything. It was just a platform, a marketplace connecting Chinese merchants to Western customers. Think of it as the Wild West version of Amazon. No rules, no filters, no standards. The business model was simple. Let merchants list whatever they wanted, pay a small fee, and pocket the sale. In exchange, Wish would subsidize the shipping and flood the app with traffic. But here's the problem. When you don't control quality, you can't control reputation. The customer experience? A disaster. Orders would take 4 to 8 weeks. Sometimes they never arrived. And when they did, the products were cheap knockoffs, defective, or nothing like the photos. There was no real customer service, no refunds, no accountability. And that's when the complaints started stacking up. Fake storefronts began popping up everywhere. Some used to test how much abuse the platform could take before users quit. Former employees later confirmed this. Certain sellers were allowed to push the limits of what was acceptable just to see how many users would tolerate it. App reviews plummeted. Trust cratered. Wish became a meme for all the wrong reasons. And then came 2020. The pandemic was a gold rush for e-commerce. Amazon crushed it. Shopify exploded. Everyone was stuck at home shopping online. Wish should have thrived, but it didn't. Shipping delays got worse. Customer support was non-existent. People wanted reliability. Wish gave them stress. As e-commerce boomed, Wish got left behind. Even Temu, another ultra-low-cost platform using Chinese supply chains, came in later and did it better. Temu invested in shipping logistics. It gave refunds. It improved UX. It wasn't perfect, but it learned from Wish's chaos. Wish just kept doubling down. Their answer? Keep spending, keep advertising, keep pushing volume. But it wasn't working anymore. The reputation was shot. And then came the biggest mistake of all. At one point, Amazon and Alibaba both considered acquiring Wish. The valuation was north of $10 billion. But CEO Peter Solchevsky believed he could take the company further on his own. He said he wanted to build the Walmart of the internet, where price was everything. He bet on chaos over trust, and it failed. By 2021, Wish had gone public under its parent company, Context Logic. The IPO looked strong, until it didn't. The stock tanked. Users were leaving. Lawsuits started. The platform was bleeding money. In 2024, just 3 years later, Context Logic sold Wish for $173 million, less than 2% of its peak valuation. That's not a dip. That's a collapse. What killed Wish wasn't just poor customer experience. It was arrogance, the belief that you could scale indefinitely on low prices and insane ads without ever building infrastructure, trust, or long-term value. They didn't reinvest in support, or logistics, or seller vetting. They burned through cash and assumed the chaos would keep working. But chaos doesn't scale, at least not forever. When users start associating your brand with scams, bad product quality, and stress, you're done. When your app becomes a punchline on Reddit and a horror story on YouTube, you don't get to grow your way out of that. Today, Wish is a case study in what happens when virality beats value. The app still exists. You can still buy stuff. But it's no longer a force in the market. It's a ghost of what it was. A punchline in the e-commerce world. The warning label other platforms now study to understand what not to do. So what do we learn from this? First, cheap is not a business model. Anyone can sell a $1 product. But if it arrives late, broken, or fake, you've lost the customer forever. Second, brand matters. Once trust is broken, no ad budget can buy it back. Third, infrastructure isn't optional. You can't run a global marketplace without quality control, customer service, and systems that make the experience usable. Fourth, virality is fragile. Wish was funny until it wasn't. It was wild until people wanted real value. When the market matured, Wish didn't. And finally, never confuse downloads with loyalty. Growth doesn't mean success. Retention does. Wish tried to build an empire on shock, speed, and scale, but it ignored the foundation. And when the pressure hit, pandemics, competition, expectations, it crumbled. So next time you see a $2 drone on an ad that feels too good to be true, just remember Wish. It might be real, or it might be another mistake waiting to happen. If you've ever ordered something wild from Wish, or got burned, drop your story in the comments. What was the weirdest thing you saw on the app? Did it show up? Was it what you expected? And if you found this breakdown helpful, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We've got more deep dives into the business world's biggest boom and bust stories, and we don't skip the messy parts. This was the rise and fall of Wish.com. We'll catch you in the next one.